The Honourable Member for Guelph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm honoured to rise on behalf of my constituents in Guelph to extend my wholehearted support for Budget 2016, Growing the Middle Class, Bill C-15. This budget has many bona fides, from the emphasis on environment to infrastructure investments to building the economy. But there's no doubt in my mind that this budget's greatest asset is its focus on innovation. However, I feel compelled to ask the House, what is innovation exactly? Innovation is much more than a buzzword. It is in fact a perspective, a new way of seeing our world. Innovation is creativity with a job to do, as John Emmerling defined it. Innovation is the route to developing a prosperous future for business and a more efficient government for the Canadian people. Assembling new technologies, best practices, and ideas is critical, but the process doesn't stop there. In fact, that's just the beginning. By bringing together experts and entrepreneurs with new technologies and utilizing the best available practices from around the world, Canada will flourish. Cementing our place as a prosperous nation, and that not only adds to the value of our economy, but adds to the value of economies around the world. As I was the former president of the Guelph Chamber of Commerce and co-founder of Innovation Guelph, I've seen this work, and we did our part to grow our community. As a result of hard work and creativity, Guelphites now have the lowest unemployment rate in Canada. Guelph's ranked #1 in agricultural biotechnology cluster. It's also one of the top 2 in Canada. Canada's advanced manufacturing sector has 360 businesses employing over 14,000 people in Guelph, with employment growing at close to 10% annually. Clean technology is rapidly growing in my riding, and Canada's largest solar panel manufacturer is located in Guelph. And many businesses are working around the world on water and air quality, as well as alternative energy. The University of Guelph and Conestoga College have been keys to shaping Guelph's growth. Focusing on innovation through business, academic, and government partnerships has been key to Guelph's success, and it will be the key to Canada's success going forward. Mr. Speaker, if this is what the City of Guelph can accomplish with an innovation network, just imagine what Canada could accomplish if there was a string of innovation networks linking coast to coast to coast. Building this new future for Canada begins where this government does. It begins with engaging Canadians. Creative and entrepreneurial citizens are at the heart of this new innovation agenda. Investing in education is a crucial step to developing Canadian talent and as a means to attracting talent from abroad. Through the Canada Foundation for Innovation, the Government of Canada has already made significant investments in research infrastructure at Canada's universities, colleges, and research institutes. Provinces and territories also provide substantial funding for campus renewal every year. Nevertheless, much of Canada's post-secondary infrastructure is over 25 years old, and it's nearing the end of its useful life. This presents an opportunity to invest in greener and innovation-friendly spaces. As chair of the Innovation and Post-Secondary Education Caucus, I strongly support Budget 2016, as it will invest $2 billion in a new post-secondary institutions strategic investment fund. Commercialization and growth is truly an indispensable element of the innovation process. Dynamic, globally interconnected firms will propel clean economic growth, increase Canada's productivity, and support well-paying jobs for the middle class. Connections between knowledge producers and users, including researchers and firms, and collaboration within the supply chains driven by market opportunities create value through innovation while supporting economic growth. Information gaps and coordination challenges may prevent these linkages from being developed to their full potential, impacting the strength of innovation ecosystems. Therefore, to help address these challenges, Budget 2016 proposes to make available up to $800 million over 4 years starting in 2017-2018, to support the innovation networks and clusters as part of the government's upcoming innovation agenda. Last but certainly not least, science and technology is the fuel which makes innovation possible. Technology has always shaped the course of human events, and the future will be no different. Therefore, we cannot ignore or become mere bystanders while other nations in the world race past us in an effort to gain the technological upper hand. Canada's universities, colleges, and other research institutions play a fundamental role in our society by developing the leading technologies of the day, just as we have in the past with penicillin, the Avro Arrow, and the telephone, just being a few examples of Canadian technology. In keeping with Canada's long history as a global leader in research and development, Budget 2016 proposes an additional $95 million per year on an ongoing basis to be provided to granting councils. This will be the highest amount of new annual funding for discovery research in more than a decade. As well as demonstrating the foresight of Budget 2016, this initiative will support up to 50% of the eligible costs of infrastructure projects at post-secondary institutions, paving the way for success for hundreds of thousands of Canadian youth. As a member of the House of Commons Standing Committee for Industry, Science and Technology, we recently visited businesses in Montreal's aerospace industry that form part of Canada's aerospace cluster. These businesses show the power of industry-academic collaboration, but also the importance of collaboration with the federal government to compete and partner with each other and with countries in this area. As a member of the Automotive Caucus, the same could be said about that sector. It's critically important that government, industry, and academia work together to develop our innovation agenda. Budget 2016 gives us first steps to focus government as a key partner in innovation. Budget 2016 provides Canadians the tools they need to innovate and build a stronger, healthier, and greener Canada for future generations. I eagerly await the advances in science and technology that will come about as a direct result of the investments we make here today. No less than Mahatma Gandhi said that we must be the change we wish to see in the world. By embracing and embodying innovation as a perspective, acting as a lens through which we can see the world, Canadians will once again be the change they wish to see in the world, being the trailblazers to whom the world can look to as a model for success. Thank you for listening, Mr. Speaker, and I look forward to answering your questions about the upcoming innovation agenda.
Questions and comments. Question commentaire. The Honourable Member for South Surrey White Rock.
And thank you for a lot of that information around innovation. And as a former CEO of a Health Tech Innovation Foundation, I'm glad to hear that you're continuing on the great work that we started. My question to you is, in most universities, they have incubators, they have commercialization centers, and the network of clusters from Halifax all the way to British Columbia. That network, and through North America, is very strong. I'm just wondering, have you reviewed the database to look at those clusters, and what is the plan in terms of funding those innovation centres?
The Honourable Member for Guelph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member of South Surrey White Rock. And it's great to hear that she also has an interest and a passion in innovation. And we are looking at the clusters across Canada through the Post-Secondary Education Caucus, the Innovation and Post-Secondary Education Caucus, and really looking at a way forward where the federal government can partner with the provincial governments and the educational institutes to try and get research commercialized and get the commercialization funding new jobs that will be created in Canada. It is a long-term project, but it starts with Budget 2016. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Kootenay, Columbia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I very much share the interest in innovation and green energy spoken to by the honourable member. But I do have a question for him. I recently held a climate change workshop in Nelson in my riding. 250 people showed up for the session. One of the presentations was by a fellow who has a solar company and was quite concerned that there are no grants available for people to invest in solar energy in their homes currently. And I'm wondering whether the member is aware of any programs that can help Canadians do the right thing, whether it be purchase of electric vehicles, solar panels for their homes, that is part of this particular budget.
The honourable member for Guelph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for Kootenay, Columbia, for his very astute question. Nelson, BC is kind of a twin city to Guelph, where we have a lot of environmental efforts and a lot of people focusing on the world ahead of us. The funding that we're looking at through our budget, Mr. Speaker, is in green technology investments through our green technology funds, and we hope to see those rolling out through the provinces to the municipalities so that people such as the person that he described will have access to some assistance in developing green technology going forward.
Questions and comments? Question commentaire. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I really do appreciate the member's thoughts about innovation. I agree how important it is that we recognize it and encourage it. And just to use an example and just get him to provide a comment on how important it is that we do incorporate the different stakeholders going beyond just the private stakeholders. And I'll use an example of Magellan, a great aerospace industry company in Winnipeg. And one of the things that I really appreciated when I had the tour was the fact that they had a space accommodated for Red River College, a post-secondary institution, because by having that relationship, these students are able to use technology, world technology, that the college likely wouldn't have been able to do without that sense of cooperation. And my question to the member is, maybe could he provide some of his thoughts in terms of how important it is to have cooperation between private and public sector and on the issue of innovation?
Honourable member for Guelph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the honourable member for Winnipeg North. And it's wonderful to get a question from my hometown. I am a graduate of Red River College, and in fact, the person that's working on the aerospace sector is a former classmate of mine. It's very important to have all three partners at the table, and something I really saw develop strongly through my work with the Chamber of Commerce in Guelph was that government, education, and business all need to work together. Government needs to provide policy, direction, and assistance to compete globally. Education needs to provide the new ideas and the young people coming into the market with new ideas to move us forward as a country. And business needs to backstop some of this and be an honored member at the table, bringing forward funds and opportunities to create globally. So I thank the member for his question.
Resuming